They say a man never really knows himself. I wonder, how well do you know yourself? Hell, it's about time.
I love that intro. Well, here we are. Welcome to Speaking with the Speaker. Doesn't look like there's anybody in here right now, but that's pretty normal for me. So, anyway, so today, as you can see, we're going to be talking. First, we're going to do a little housekeeping, and then our main topic for today, with the fact that there will be a new Joker sequel coming out. I figured we'd talk about the original. I never really talked much about the original. Didn't consider myself like a fan of it or anything. There's a lot of hype about it when it did come out. But I never really got into that very much. So let's just talk about some things here for a minute. So I did want to mention, and I did a short video on this earlier this week about the Silver Surfer being cast as a woman. And I kind of have to say that not really surprised by this. It's one of those things where these people are never going to change. Okay. They expect us to change. They expect us to become different. They don't think they're doing anything wrong. They absolutely are doing everything wrong, and the box office and the lack of ratings for their TV shows and stuff are showing them that they're wrong. But these are arrogant, narcissistic people. I had somebody in one of my videos, because I basically said Hollywood's full of narcissists who thinks that they're supposed to take somebody else's work and make it their own vision. And they're like, that doesn't make them narcissists. They're just creatives wanting to make their own vision. And it's just like I said, narcissists. They've taken somebody else's work and they think, I'm gonna change that and make it mine. And I don't mind that necessarily as much when people are doing stuff like that. Also, a little housekeeping here. Looks like the Rumble stream that I set up is not really working. So if you were trying to watch this on Rumble, all three of you that are subscribed to me on there, you might have some trouble with that. I don't know. It is not as easy for StreamYards to work with Rumble as it is with YouTube, I've noticed. And so I'm going to have to work with that. Like Rumble will not let you set up a live stream more than 24 hours in advance. Like you have to schedule it 24 hours or sooner, or it's like, no, you can't do that. So I don't know why they're like that. I don't know why they're so restrictive on scheduling stuff in advance. I would think that would be a good thing for Rumble to want to do, but they're not really doing that right now. But back on the Silver Surfer thing, we all knew. I mean, anybody with a brain at this point knows they're going to do this. They are not going to give us what we want. They are going to keep giving us what they want and expecting us to change. And this is fine because I'm going to keep giving them what I want, which is nothing. No money. I'm not going to their movies. I'm not watching their shows. I'm not doing anything to support these people. I talk about them only as much as it's necessary to criticize them for being the tools and the narcissists that they are, but then that's it. I mean, that's pretty much all I do. It's kind of it's just a sad deal that this is what they've turned into. They've turned into these people who can't learn. Not that they don't want to or what, they can't. Like they're so locked into their ideologies and so convinced of their own righteousness, not the right term really for them, but their own intellect that they can't see beyond the end of their nose. So so let's get into the main topic for this week. The main topic I wanted to talk about is the Joker sequel that's coming up, but I wanted to go back and talk about the Joker. Now, like I was saying, when this movie came out, there's so much hype and there was so much concern. And now, if you go to this movie, you'll be shot in the theater because of all the white incels that are going to. I mean, there was just a craziness around this film, and I remember during the time sitting there thinking, what are these people talking about? I don't understand why they're so concerned about this film. I think what it was is they were concerned that a film about a white guy who was angry and stuff like that was going to lead to white men realizing how badly they're being shafted. And I mean, speaking as a white guy, most other white guys are sound asleep. They have no concept of what's happening to them. They don't realize their freedoms. They're like that. They're the only group that can be castigated and spit on and destroyed. And it's like they're just letting it happen. And if you dare to fight back at all, well, you're called every name in the book. You're the worst thing ever. Anyway, so it took me a long time. I probably didn't watch this movie till about a year ago, and it's been out for quite a few, like 4 or 5 years now. It seems like maybe not that long. I don't exactly remember the year it came out, but that's not really important. But I wanted to talk about this film because what I got from it seemed to be a very different take than what I heard anybody else talking about. Now, maybe a lot of people did talk about this at the time, but I never heard anybody, and I've never heard anybody since. In fact, I heard some live streams where they were talking about the sequel coming up, and all I heard was, "Oh, this is just them taking a Batman and trying to make a taxi driver slash I can't remember the other film. It was a Scorsese film and stuff about, they're mad as hell and you're not going to take it anymore, kind of a feel to a film." And I just never, I understand where they're coming from. This really isn't the Joker from Batman. This is Arthur Fleck. Hail, Chris Persia. Thanks for stopping in here. So this really is, let me say this starting off. Batman is my favorite comic book hero of all time. it'd kind of be a toss up between him and Superman, but they're the ones that I kind of identified and identified with and saw myself in, but particularly Batman. Was never big into the Marvel characters and stuff. I was always more of a DC guy, but I wasn't a huge comic book guy. I was more into like the cartoons and the Justice Friends of America and the cartoons and stuff that they were making based on this stuff. So I am not going to pretend for a minute that I know all of the backstory and the super history of Batman and all the different Jokers that have come and gone over the years. Seems like we've seen a bunch of different ones in the different films. You've got Jack Nicholson's Joker, which was of course, you always have these names in your head until you actually want to say them out loud, and then they're gone. Jack Napier. So we had Jack Napier. I think there was another character that was written as the Joker. We've had like Two Worlds thing where like I've heard people talk about the different takes and the different twists and the different timelines and the different universes that they've done. But I've never, Arthur Fleck, this was the first time I'd ever seen or heard anything about him being the Joker, was in this film. And to me, it really wasn't as much. I mean, they used the characters for the DC universe, basically as just a backdrop, like for telling this other story. Now it seems like they're going to go deeper into the DC world with Harley Quinn, and they're going to bring some other characters in the second film, but I'm not really that interested. I thought the Joker was a great one-off film, but I will tell you but I didn't think it was great. I thought it was great for what it was, if that makes sense. What they did with this film spoke to me in a very different way. You get a sense of how sometimes these people became villains, what led to them, the societal pressures, the different personal things going on in their lives. That's what I got. And I walked away from this film after watching it with a very conflicted, kind of dark sense about the world that we live in and the people who fall through the cracks. And that was really kind of what I came away from with this, under the guise of the Batman universe, but not really with Batman involved in it, if that makes sense. And it maybe at some point he will come into it. I almost kind of hope he doesn't, because I think between Robert Pattinson's Batman and then we're getting to the point where there's too many Batmans. There's too many of these things all happening at the same time, to where I feel like, okay, I don't know who you're making this for, and I feel like I'm getting overloaded with different storylines and plot lines, and it's like they're just, at this point, they're just licensing out everything, throwing everything up against the wall, hoping that something sticks and they make some money somehow, somewhere, some way. And that's why I thought this Joker film should have just been a one-off, one and done, stop while you're ahead. It made money mainly because of the hype that was surrounding it. And where I don't know, maybe it'll get an audience because of what happened last time. People will want to go and see where they're going to take this story. Where they leave you at the end of the Joker film is in a very dark place. He has just killed his therapist, or that's what you're led to believe. He's trailing blood down the hall of the mental institution, basically Arkham Asylum and stuff. Spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't seen this movie, you've been asleep for several years, or you're like me and you waited. But if you're in this live stream, you probably have seen this movie and have your opinions about it. So I liked this for what it was. It shows what happens to people when everything is set up against them almost from the very beginning. So we meet Arthur Fleck, and Arthur Fleck is being raised by a woman that we later come to find out is completely off her rocker. She is batshit crazy, no pun intended. That she believes that that she had an affair, that she was in love with Bruce, or not Bruce Wayne, but Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, and that this boy Arthur Fleck is his son. And she has convinced Arthur that his whole life that Bruce, or that Thomas Wayne is his father, and or just basically she's kind of manipulated him and twisted him through most of his life. You see that he bathes her. Here's his son bathing his full-grown adult naked mother. I don't think there's any like incestuous kind of stuff happening there. It's more of just like a disturbing, like, why are you doing this? She's constantly writing letters to Thomas Wayne, and Arthur has mental issues right off the bat. He has a disorder that causes him to laugh under stressful situations, and it's like a disturbingly kind of creepy laugh, and stuff. And he's on medication. He's seeing a psychiatrist for this, basically being paid for by the state-run programs that are trying to help him and give him medication and stuff. And you meet his social worker / psychiatrist that he meets with, and I mean, you can tell that she doesn't give a crap about what's happening. She's part of a burned out, broken down system that's not working anymore for anybody, kind of like what we're living in now. And see, that's why I think this movie resonated with so many people, is because there are some very disturbing parallels between what we're seeing in today's world with the world that they showed us in Joker, where people are falling through the cracks. They are being allowed to slip into this self-destructive world of their own creation, where they degenerate and destroy themselves. And it's really sad. It's really sad to watch what happens to Arthur as he's going through this. He learns that his mother's been lying to him all these years and manipulating him, and then he's having delusions where he thinks he's in a relationship with the girl next door, and that they're having kind of a special relationship. And I mean, there's just, and then it comes to find out that was all in his head, that as the system is collapsing and he is not given his medication anymore, he doesn't have the social worker to talk to anymore, like, he starts to collapse in on himself. And everything that is wrong with him starts to get so much worse, because there's nobody that cares. There's nobody that helps him. Even some horrible state worker who doesn't care about him was better than nothing. And it kind of shows the breakdown of our system, where they used to have insane asylums, they used to have better mental institutions, they used to have all of these things that were designed to help deal with mental issues in the United States. But now we're seeing like an explosion of stuff like this. So basically, you get to watch this one man's descent into madness, that every step along the way he was lied to, kind of misused, mistreated. He has to, when he meets people and he has one of those fits where he starts laughing and he can't stop himself from laughing, he has to find a card to hand to people so that it will explain why he's laughing, so that they don't get upset. And it finally culminates in 3 guys on a train. He's on the train. These 3 yuppie type, office worker type guys are kind of harassing this girl on the train and stuff. And he starts laughing. You can tell he's very uncomfortable. He starts laughing maniacally. These guys at first aren't sure what to make of him and stuff. And then very shortly, like, their attentions slip off of this woman, which, bless Arthur's heart for basically saving this woman, not even trying to, but these guys turn and focus their energy on him. They start harassing him. They start doing all this stuff. He is desperately looking for this card to give them so that they understand why he's laughing. He's not laughing at them. It's not something that that he's not trying to be part of their business. He's not trying to cause problems for them. It's just but because of what happens, that's what he ends up doing. Well, then they start beating him up, and they beat him up. Well, he's been given a gun by a buddy of his at work who's kind of a backstabbing douchebag. Like I said, just another one of the horrendous things that's happened to Arthur. This guy gives him a gun. He accidentally has it at work, and he ends up getting fired, and he loses his job. And then this I mean, it's just every step along the way, you're just like, you just feel for him. You feel like, dude, you just cannot catch a break. And it's kind of a dangerous film in the fact that it makes you identify with somebody who eventually becomes a killer, but it also makes you see that there were so many places along his path that had somebody stepped up, had somebody taken an interest, had somebody put his mother away in an asylum or in an institution where she so rightly belonged to be, and have him taken away from her and put with a family that might have loved him and taught him, better values and stuff. I mean, there's just so many places along this path that he's on where, had somebody gave a crap, it could have saved him. It could have turned him away from becoming what he becomes. And that's the sad part is like, that it makes you think. And I like films that do that. And that's the one really good thing about this film, is it makes you confront those issues about yourself, about society. Would you have been the guy who stepped up and said, Arthur, hey, you just need some help, and let me help you? And so kind of a fresh take on Chris Persia says, so it's kind of a fresh take on Falling Down. Yes. It's just, like I said, it wasn't a film that I was overly excited to go see, but I waited for all the hype to die down, and then I finally watched it and stuff. And like I said, what I got from it was so much different. Everybody else was focusing in on the DC connection. And this isn't DC, this isn't Batman, this is stupid. This is just, they're trying to get a crash grab. And yeah, okay, to a certain extent, yes, there is some of that going on, but it's basically a study in the Joker. It's a study in villains. It's a study in how normal or mildly normal or some guy can go from just a guy doing a clown routine, who loves his job. He's not a complicated man. He just wants to do his clown thing and live his life, and everything that conspires to basically turn him into a monster. So it was really fascinating to me watching that happen, and with that kind of a DC feel in the background. I liked that. A lot of people didn't like that. I mean, I just looked at this. Basically, I took this film and I just stuck it over here. DC's over here, and I was like, okay, they took this thing and they just stick it over here because I had to compartmentalize it, because there are literally so many things happening. Too many lines being pulled off of the DC universe, between Zack Snyder and the Batman and they're trying to do too many things with it, and it's making it confusing. So I just had to compartmentalize this film as its own thing. But when you watch it, you just have to really have to ask yourself, where am I in this story? Am I one of the people that led him to being a villain? Or would I have been one of the people who led him? Maybe if I could have made choices, where would I fit in this story? Am I Arthur Fleck? Am I the psychiatrist who didn't care? She was just doing her job. Am I the guys on the train who are complete douchebags, who 3 guys start hitting on one girl in a very enclosed circumstance, in a very creepy, just awful way that sometimes men and women react to it. I mean, you have to look at this and find who you are in this film, and then ask yourself the questions: is that who I want to be? Is that where I want to go? Is that, and that's how I look at a lot of these type of movies. I felt the very same way about The Matrix. Um, when I first saw that. I mean, other than super cool film, I remember when that came out. I went to the theater and I watched that movie. I don't know how many different times in the theater because I thought it was that good. And everybody crapping on Keanu Reeves, stupid, whoa, you know. And I'm just like, stop making fun of him. He did a good job in that film. He's a great character. I like Keanu Reeves, so I never had a problem with that. But anyway, but with this, by the end, by the time he shoots the television host, you're not really rooting for him, but you get it. You get why he kills the guys on the subway train, because that's the end of that story, by the way. He's got this gun, he's got it, and he's, you know, and stuff. And they start beating the crap out of him, and you can tell he's afraid for his life. He's thinking they're going to kill him, because he couldn't stop laughing, which was something he has no control over. He cannot stop that. And then he shoots these guys. Yes, is that an overreaction? I'm not justifying killing somebody like that, but if you think your life is in danger, now the part where it goes kind of dark is the fact that he chases the guys down. Like once they're running away and stuff, he chases them down and kills all three of them. He kills one or two of them in the train. One's trying to get away. He chases that guy down, kills him, because at that point he knows he's in trouble. They've pushed him to the point where he shot somebody, and if he leaves any one of them alive, his life is over. It gets 1,000 times worse. And for him, I mean, that had to look like, oh my gosh, how much worse can my life get? I mean, it's just, and so you kind of understand him even chasing the guy down. And the funny thing is I know that this incident paints those guys in a horrible, horrible light, but they weren't good guys. These guys were, man, maybe they'd have just messed with this woman and left her untouched. But what if they were guys who would have gang raped her? You know, would have started down a road and then done something truly horrible and ended up gang raping her or something like that. Then, I mean, in that circumstance, Arthur Fleck's a hero. It's all timing. It's all what were their intentions. And that's what it is. It makes you get inside your head and go, what am I? Who am I? What do I want to be? It makes you ask those deep questions about yourself. At least it did for me. I just there were so many times I'm like, I don't know who to root for in this film. And that's what I finally realized is it's not about rooting for anybody. It's about understanding cause and effect and what happens to people. And what happens in society when all of the lines that help take people off of the wrong track, when all of those are cut and you have one path and it's going to self-destruction. And what does that say about us as a society, that we allow that kind of stuff to happen, that we aren't trying to break in and help people overcome those problems? So Chris says, I think it's good that you put this off to the side as its own thing, because I believe that that's yeah. And I think you're right, Chris. I think that's exactly what he wanted to do. Although now it seems like that's not what they're doing. Now they're trying to take it off the shelf I put it on and trying to remerge it in there by sticking Harley Quinn and stuff. But it's like, and that's why I'm like, I don't really care about this film, and I don't plan on doing anything more with it, because I think the original intention for this film has gotten lost in the fact that Hollywood is broken and they don't care about anything. All they want to do is grab cash and probably make this all about her. Just like putting Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four and making it, you know, make her lame and gay, you know. So it's one of those things where you just have to kind of find where it fits inside of you, and if it doesn't, it's just like you just throw it out, and if it does, you take it and you try and use it to make yourself a little better. And I like it when Hollywood makes those one-off films where you have to kind of step back and go, what is this? What does this mean? You know, what is this trying to say? And it's not being preachy. That's the thing I loved about this film more than anything else, is it did not preach at you. It throws out the circumstances. It throws out the patterns of life, the things that we've all seen. We've all read about these stories in the news. We've all watched people go from quiet kid to murderer to, or a quiet kid turning into a genius in some lab somewhere in the world making great things or horrible things, as the case may be. But it's that going into the human psyche and finding what makes each and every one of us who we are. And every once in a while somebody in Hollywood does that really well. Now there's a movie out right now called Knox Goes Away with Michael Keaton in it, and I would really kind of like to see that, because to me that has a very similar vibe from the trailers that I've been seeing. And I like Michael Keaton. I think he's a really good actor. I have a hard time with his politics, but he doesn't talk about it so much that I can't separate him from his politics, which, like somebody like the guy that was in Ghostbusters, plays one of the professors. Used to be a comedian. Now he's just a political douchebag, but can't think of his name off the top of my head. But it's just when an actor stuff gets so political and so in your face in real life, where you can no longer, you don't have that suspension of disbelief when you see them in a film or something. But I do recommend you go watch The Joker if you haven't watched it, but don't watch it as a DC cartoon or a DC comic movie. You have to view it like its own thing. And all of these people that are crapping on it because it does kind of, borrow from the DC universe, I think they missed the point. I think they missed the fact that he wanted to tell a story about how somebody became a villain. And who's a better villain than the Joker? I mean, he's a guy who's deeply troubled. He's completely messed up. He ends up, in the real Batman stories, he gets burned with acid or he gets disfigured. And then, there's so many aspects to the Joker's character, which I think is why he's one of the greatest villains of all time for Batman. He is Batman's main nemesis because he is so complicated. And there's so much to his character. And I thought this was just a good way for them to explore a slightly different way of looking at that. Where he goes from at the beginning of this movie to the end of this movie is just crazy. And at the end, that's why when he kills his therapist at the end and you walk away and all you can see is him trailing blood. And he is trailing a lot of blood. So you know that this was a very gruesome thing that he has just done. And all that triggered it was the therapist or the psychologist at Arkham asking him, to basically talk about it. What, and he's like, you wouldn't understand. And then and you're just, but at that point you're like, okay, I don't identify with him anymore, but I'm still like, I get where he is. I get what happened to get him where he is, to make him the psychotic person because he doesn't think anybody is, he's on his own, and that's how he feels. It's like he doesn't, he's broken from all moral compass laws and stuff, because of everything that's happened to him in his life. He's gone so dark. Hell, Lady Mist, thank you for jumping in here today. We're talking about Joker. I don't know if you've seen that film. Like I said, it's an older film now, but I'm talking about it because they are going to do a sequel, and because I've never really talked about that film. And I was thinking about it this week, and I just thought, this is something I need to cover, because it is an interesting deep dive into the psychological makeup of human beings and what happens inside people who are spinning out of control, and there's no one there to stop them. So I did want to talk about that. If you guys have any thoughts on that particular film, like I said, as as long as you don't come at it from that sense of, I'm going to get upset because this isn't really the Joker. It's like, yeah, it's not really the Joker. It's a different story. It's a different side story. You can't look at it as part of the DCEU or the DC universe, really, although that's what they're trying to do with it now, and who knows where that will go. But with Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn, yeah, I don't see that going anywhere very good. And people are talking about like it's supposed to be a musical, and I guess there's ways you could do that and make it make sense, but no. At the same time, there's a difference between the greatest showman on earth and Batman or the Joker. And I don't think you should smoosh those things together. No. Yeah, it's an interesting film. It really is. It will leave you very conflicted and but it'll make you think some seriously deep stuff. Lady Mist. Like I said, I didn't see it till probably 6 months ago, maybe a year ago at the most. I waited a long time to watch it because I was just like, do I not want to? Do I? And it is worth a watch. It is worth a watch just to see what happens inside of somebody that might turn them to being a villain. And sometimes it's not all their fault. I don't think the idea behind this film was to give him cover. I don't think it was to justify what the Joker did, or how he became, but it is a story of how somebody can go bad who necessarily at the beginning of this, Arthur Fleck is not a bad guy. He's not a bad person. He's just had such bad luck in his life. He has been lied to and, like I said, mistreated and misrepresented. I mean, you see and I'm sure everybody saw it in the trailer where you see him and he's on this sidewalk and he's dancing with this sign, his clown shoes, and this job makes him happy. He likes this job. He really does. He likes. I mean, he wants to make people happy. He wants to make people laugh. He wants to be a comedian. I mean, his aspirations in this film are not bad. They are good aspirations, actually. He's so socially awkward. He is so he struggles with so many things because of his mom, because of the way he was raised, because of all these different things. And it's just like, it's a miracle he's not a monster from day one. But like, he doesn't understand what makes things funny. And so when he finally gets his shot at doing a stand-up routine, it goes horribly wrong for him. He ends up laughing more at his jokes than anybody else does, because once he starts laughing, he basically can't stop laughing. And it just, it goes terribly wrong. His video gets shown on this television show, like basically Johnny Carson's Tonight. That's, that kind of a show. And then that leads to him eventually being asked to be on the show. And they're basically making him the butt of the joke in front of him after all of these things have happened, after he's had to shoot these guys to get away from him, after he's been fired from his job by a backstabbing coworker because of a backstabbing coworker, who then comes to his house and tries to get him to not tell anybody about the fact that he gave him the gun, that he did all this stuff to get him into this position where he's going to have these problems. And it was just sad how it all transpires for him. And I mean, when he ends up killing, more spoilers, when he ends up killing his coworker, you're like, oh yeah, you needed to go. I mean, that's the thing. It leaves you so conflicted, and they did such a good job of blurring that line of like, what can I justify what he's done? You understand where he's coming from, but you understand why it's wrong. It is just a great film in the fact that it really delves into some dark areas of the human psyche and shines a light on them. Hey, Jeff B, how are you doing on this Sunday? Good to see you. Thanks for jumping in here. But it was a good film for what it was. But you just can't look at it like a DC film. You have to be like, all right, they're trying to do something cool over here, but what they do with the sequel, like I said, who knows what's actually going to happen there, and I don't care. Quite honestly, I'm out at this point, which is sad because Joaquin Phoenix really did a masterful performance. He really did awesome. Just in the way that only he could do it. He just has a very specific kind of ability to be that kind of character. He gets really deep into it, and he's just great. So Chris says, I also didn't see this film as a DC story, more of a play on the movie. The Laughing Man, and both suffer immense physical and psychological trauma, and depending on the situation, could have been a hero. Yes, absolutely. And then we've got Jeff B saying, last film I saw that's been several years ago, Jeff. Just are you still scared of the coof of the oh, I don't even want to accidentally say it because, making a joke because they'll ban my stream. But no, it's that is funny though. I mean, but I like I said, I waited a long time to see this movie. I wanted to. Okay, so Jeff B just wanted to see 1917 in the theater, but the coof got I mean, I've only now just started going back to theaters, and I kind of regret it because both the last two films I saw were like meh, and I'm like, that was a lot of money for meh. I mean, it was the one film my daughters took me to, and they paid for me because that was their Christmas present to me in December, that they wanted to take me and go to a movie with me, which is, they know I love to spend time with them. So, but the last one I took everybody to, and it was $76 just for 5 of us to get into the theater. And then that's before the popcorn and the butter and I was just like, that's a freaking crap ton of money for between Dune 2 being disappointing because they just messed that movie up, and I mean, when trailers used to come out, I would get excited. Do you remember that? Do you remember those feelings? Getting excited when you saw movie trailers and you're like, whoa, this is gonna be so good. And now I just go, whoa, they're gonna mess that up. And that's all I have in my head now. I'm like, nope, I don't. This isn't going to end up being good, and I'm just going to walk out of the theater mad, which is what happens about 90% of the time now. And people will say like, oh, you're just a miserable guy, and it's just like, well, I didn't used to be. I used to be a pretty happy guy, and I am still a pretty happy guy for the most part. I just get tired of having my expectations subverted and dashed on the rocks, and then to have the people who did it dance around going, yeah, we got Brian, and I'm just like, you guys suck. And I just, so I'm very picky about the movies I go to in the theater now, because you just don't know what you're going to get. And Dune 2, the visuals, the spectacle, all that stuff, that was great to see in the big screen. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire was a disappointment of a film to me. I mean, it had some good things about it, and I've talked about that already, but it just, like, neither one of them I walked out of the theater feeling like, yeah. So it's just, I miss those days. I miss coming out of a theater just wanting to turn around and go back in and see it again. You know what I mean? Because that used to happen. Like I was saying earlier with The Matrix. And see, The Matrix was another movie for me that is kind of this same way. It's a surface level, great movie, action flick, a little bit of a mind bender, but when you really start to look in to the underlying themes and what's happening in the Matrix and stuff, there's a lot of really deep stuff going on in that film. A lot of, like, and the Wachowski brothers, or they were brothers at the time, and now they're not, which is another sad thing. But that movie at the time was, they kind of had a messianic, they were kind of trying to talk about like a biblical type story in a modern futuristic type setting, and I liked it. I liked all three of those films. The fourth film was a Travis mockery that should have just never ever been done, and which is funny because that's exactly the message that what's her whatever they are now, the one Wachowski that did that film, the fourth film, you can tell that was the whole point of the film. Was he was making that film saying this film never should have been made, and he does it throughout the entire film. It is a film protesting the fact that it's a film. And that was the only thing I thought was great about that movie, was the fact that he basically had to do it or they would have given it to somebody else, and he basically makes them pay for it in the movie. He writes the script. This is like, this is a stupid idea. This is a dumb thing. It should not have happened. And that was the part I loved about it. I was just like, way to get your revenge for when you tell Warner Brothers, I don't want to do this. This shouldn't be done. We should stop where we left off. And Warner Brothers like, no, but money. And he's like, okay, I'm going to make you regret this. And I regretted it. I regretted going to see it other than that. So, but the Matrix films really had a lot of deep themes running through them and a lot of mind twisting stuff. And I like that kind of film. I like films that make me think. I like films that make me question and look inside myself to see, who am I? What am I really? Why do I believe what I believe? Is what I believe right, correct, and true? Am I a good person in society? Am I a problem in society? I mean, it really makes you do that deep dive into your own psychological makeup. And I like that, because the only people in life that scare me are the ones that are completely convinced of their rightness. I get really scared around people that are absolutely, and it's one of the things that, like, Muslims, why they scare me. And I probably just got my stream taken down for that, because they're so convinced that they're right and they're going to kill you over it. And it doesn't matter who does it. Or Christians, when they've done it, when anybody else does that, like, you should never believe that you're infallible and that you have all the answers. And the moment you think that, danger, Will Robinson, danger. So no, this was hell Adega. Thanks for jumping in here today. But yeah, so like I said, I would suggest people go watch this film. If you were hesitant, it is rated R. If you were hesitant to go see the Joker and you've been holding off, I would say go watch it. It's worth a watch. Just understand what it is and understand that you're probably not going to want to see the sequel. Kind of like what happened with the Star Wars movies. You're not going to want to go see those sequels. Just stop. So, hey, Curtis, thanks for jumping in here today. So I'm just getting ready to kind of wrap it up. This one's going to be a little bit of a shorter stream today, but mainly because I don't want to belabor the point. But if you guys have any questions or have any like opinions about Joker, please feel free to jump in there and we'll keep the discussion going. But I think you should go watch this if you haven't seen it, and look at it as a study in how villains are born, and how good people or people who are trying to be good can have their lives twisted and all of this stuff to become something I don't think they wanted to be. And that doesn't, and the thing I like about this is you never feel like this film justifies Arthur Fleck. This film and that's what I love. It is so open-ended. There is no judgment. There's no condemnation. There is no, it is very open to interpretation, which that's what it should be. There's nobody preaching at anybody. There's just saying, this is the way it is. This is what happened. These were the circumstances. Now, what do you think? And you have to walk away at the end of the movie going, huh. You can't just walk out of this going, oh, that was a great flick. No, you have to put yourself in these characters' shoes and go, would I have done that? And that's, those kind of movies are very rare these days, where it's not, nobody's preaching at anybody, nobody's, and see, and I, as much as I despise woke Hollywood, and they're trying to push foul, despicable messages and stuff, I also don't really like, and I'm a Christian, but I don't like heavily Christian oriented films where they're like beating you over the head with like Christianity, because it's like, it comes off going, it comes off cringy to me. And I'm just like, but every once in a while there's good films in all of those genres where it's just like, they're not trying to preach at you, they're trying to get you to think. And that's what this movie was. It makes you think. It makes you wonder what you would do. And for that, I say it was a decent film. Not great, not amazing, not wonderful, but it is good for what it is. And I think people, especially if you're going to go into psychology and stuff like that, you ought to watch films like this, because you're going to have to deal with these kind of things. And you're going to have to ask yourself, am I the kind of person that could help an Arthur Fleck? You know, could you have been the one who veered him away from the path that he was on? Which would have been tough, because he was, boy, he was going down a really dark path. And it's just, it's sad what happens to him. Sorry. Oh, okay. Yes. So while I've got everybody in here, Adega Outlaw actually does a live reading of his books on Sunday afternoons at 4:30 Mountain Standard Time. So if you have not subscribed to Adega, if you're not part of that, go subscribe to Adega. His books are fantastic. Go buy his books. Go be a part of that universe. Adega is creating his own universes. He's got the Blood Witch. He's got the Children of the Directive. I'm not sure. Adega, do you have like a specific title for that series? So the Blood Witch is just kind of its own series, and then, but like everything that Adega writes is very good, and you will not be disappointed. Go find these books, buy them online. In fact, I've got one right here that I keep next to me. This was a very cool version of this book. This is the Blood Witch. This was the first book of Adega's I ever became aware of, and got to listen to it on his Evolution series. Yes, thank you. This, I don't think you can get this version anymore. I love this version because of her face on it. But yeah, great books, great series. Yeah, it's the old version. Haha, I've got a rare one. The Reach. Yes, seriously, go to Adega's channel, look up his books. You will not be sorry. You will enjoy them, and you will be able to get into worlds that are being created because of the nonsense that's going on, with other creators and stuff like that. Adega's making good stuff, and that's what we have to do. We have to be the creators now. We can't depend on anybody else to be the creators and to do that for us. We have to be the creators. We have to create the stuff that we want to see, because they're just not going to. They're not going to do that anymore. But yeah, it's worth it. Go support any creator who is trying to build something great. Who I mean, it's important. It's important whether they're a YouTuber, whether they're an author like Adega, and that's hard. I mean, and because I know Adega and I've talked to Adega and I've had him on my show before, and I mean, I've asked him, how because I thought about writing a book at one time, and then I'm just like, yeah, no, that's not gonna. I'm a truck driver. I am not an author. So, I mean, I could dictate into a phone and then everybody would be like, please stop dictating into a phone. That's terrible. Anyway, so yes, Lady Mist, thank you for putting that up. So there's Adega's channel. Go jump in there and give him a like and a watch. Anyway, so that's where we're going to leave it at for this week. I thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for coming in and being a part of this discussion. it's important that we talk about the good stuff, and that's what I wanted to do this week, because I sometimes I feel like I get bogged down in all the really nasty stuff that Hollywood's putting out, and so when they put out something decent or something interesting or something worthwhile, we should talk about that, and we should talk about what makes things good, because I hate being negative all the time. People are like, "You're negative, you're a miserable cunt," and it's just like, well, I not because I want to be, but it's kind of hard when you have people destroying everything you love. When somebody walks up with a bottle of gasoline and throws a Molotov cocktail at your house, you're not going to be happy with them. You're going to be like, "Hey man, don't do that." So anyway, thanks everybody. Please go and have yourselves a beautiful rest of this Sabbath day, and we will talk to you next time. Bye now.